Those two things, subject matter expertise and access to or creation of data, continue to be the sort of two pillars that we think are essential to build great market-leading businesses in this new world. I just want to start by reiterating quite simply why we see these developments in large language model technology as really an extremely important leap in our technological capability. And really, I think the most simple way to explain this is that LLMs, when combined with the right data and training capabilities, have basically given software companies the ability to essentially mimic human intelligence. Now, this means that our software companies now have the capability to go beyond this kind of basic level of merely digitizing a workflow. And they can now move into the realm of predicting and forecasting and using this clever logic to anticipate what might come next. And in some situations, just like humans, actually do what needs to come next. So hopefully this makes it clear why we see AI as being really supercharging the ability for technology to replace or enhance the skills of knowledge-based workers. And I think it's also really important to understand that before vertical AI, we actually had vertical software. And this software was built specifically to address the unique needs and challenges of a vertical or an industry. And vertical software has been a really successful investing category in the first cloud revolution. And the top 20 US public vertical software companies like Workday, Shopify, and Square, now represent over 300 billion in market cap. So now just imagine how AI will be applied to those same industries. We are moving from software that simply automates tasks to software that can think and learn. And this is a huge leap forward that will change how many industries operate. But it's pretty clear so far that vertical AI is sort of simultaneously a margin eating opportunity, but also a market expansion opportunity. So we are seeing that these vertical AI startups have been typically enhancing or complementary to traditional vertical SaaS so far. They're not removing market share, they're just generally expanding it by taking on new capability. They are opening up these task areas where human labor was formerly just too expensive or too inconsistent for software to be useful or applied. We're also seeing that it opens up new business models. Well, previously, we just had these sort of software as a service delivery models, but now we have co-pilot models, which automate low-hanging tasks and can augment a human. We've got agent models, which replace that workflow entirely, two different margin structures for those businesses. And then we're also seeing these AI-enabled services, which can automate sort of traditionally outsourced services and completely eat their margin. And that is a whole other category, which previously was not particularly scalable or an investing opportunity, particularly for venture capital. And that's starting to open up that category, and we're starting to explore the margin structures of those businesses as well. And then probably just the final point on that, the early data is showing that these vertical AI startups, they're already able to charge 80% of the annual contract value of their incumbents. So that's just them getting started. These are really early stage businesses. So the challenge for us is, how do we make sure that we are always finding the most defensible businesses that are going to win? And I think the thing that really stands out for me from this conversation is that there's two things. The customer problem that we are solving for is still really the main game. It needs to be big enough and hard enough to solve. That's always been the case when we've been investing in early stage businesses. Really understanding what the issue is with the customer and why a business wins, and what the unique insight is of the founder has been really critical to what we do. But I think in this vertical AI world, the importance of subject matter expertise, whilst it's always been important in the past, it's never been as important. And previously, we over-index a lot on engineering capability and product building capability, I would say. And sometimes you would invest in a company where maybe the subject matter expertise wasn't as steep. But I think in this vertical AI world, it has to be very, very deep. As you say, Simon, there's no use having the data and having the access if you don't understand how to apply it. And then that leads me to the second point, which is that access to or creation of the data itself and folding that into great product development is still really a pinnacle for what makes a great defensible vertical AI business. I think there's a whole heap of interesting complexity there around business models, the co-pilots and the augmentation versus the full replacement, AI enabled services, how much is human versus I think this comes into a lot of how we're thinking about how founders are building products from the get-go and what the eventual margin structure and therefore investment requirement for their business is going to be. But those two things, subject matter expertise and access to a creation of data, continue to be the sort of two pillars that we think are essential to build great market leading businesses in this new world.